Welcome to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. I am your host, Marco Buenrostro, and every week I'm here with the top industry experts, amazing clients, and all my vendor BFFs to bring you the best tips, advice, and juicy behind-the-scenes stories to make wedding and event planning a breeze. So grab your favorite drink and let's get this party started! Hey guys, welcome back to the Tipsy Guest. I am Marco, your host, and today we are going to be talking about the perfect wedding timeline, which I'm very excited because timelines always go bad, and not in a bad way though. There's always delays. There's always delays. Okay, but I'm so excited today because I have Melissa from All in the Details. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
I
Thank
am
you so much
really
for having me.
excited. I've been working events with you for a while now.
It has. It's been a very long time. Yeah.
How long have you been in business?
I started my business 13 years ago, and it was just... I had been in the events industry for a really long time, since like 2002. We won't say how old I am. But, and then I was one of those brides that I got married and I was like, I love this. I'm going to do it. But I had been in the corporate and then the nonprofit world in events. And then I just really fell in love with weddings. And my husband was the one who was like, you should start your own business. And I was like, what? No. And then here we are 13 years later.
Well, you are definitely a success story because I always hear, brides, like that they want to start a business right after getting married.
Yeah.
And look at you now so many years later.
Well, I think the difference was that I knew, because I had been in the events industry, how much it takes to produce and to do an event and execute an event. And so I think that, sometimes brides, and that's not to say that, this is all brides, because I know some brides have done it and they've done it very successfully. But sometimes they're like, I had so much fun. I'm like, yes, because you had paid the professionals to do the wedding and to work. I mean, they're 18-hour days sometimes. And so, yeah, but anyways, sorry, that was a hot take. Didn't mean to ruffle any feathers right off the bat.
I can tell you're going to be giving me great information today. Oh, my goodness.
I know. I'm like, uh-oh.
But so just like I said, before, not that timelines always go bad, but there's always delays.
Right.
Whatever the situation, whatever the reason, I feel like there's always, something that's going to put things behind just a few minutes.
Right.
Sometimes I don't think I've ever had one where we are behind for more than 30, 45 minutes. But there's always something happening, it could be weather, it could be a drunk person. I mean, this is a Tipsy Guest, so.
Right. Hopefully, we can catch that before the wedding.
I know, right?
Before the ceremony.
Yeah. So I think let's just say in a perfect world, walk me through a perfect timeline.
Perfect.
And before we dive into it, I guess some of our listeners, because I've seen this a lot of times on either Facebook groups or just, people asking, sometimes the couples have no idea how to come up with the timeline.
Right.
So I guess, is this something that you guys help them with, or do they have to give you that information and then you just go with it?
So absolutely, we're the ones that do it. And the reason why is because a lot of times our clients, they don't know how long things really take. So they may say oh, we're going to open the doors at 6:00 and then by 6:05, we're going to do our grand entrance. And it's 300 people that have to go find their seat. They're still mingling. I'm like, that takes 15 to almost 20 minutes. And they're just like, what? I'm like, it's 300 people that have to go and sit down. So, but no, so absolutely. So the way that we kind of work is that we will send them a final questionnaire. We're going to ask them a bunch of different questions. Like, do you want your first dance before dinner, after dinner? Because we really want to tailor it to the client. But in my perfect world, I love a day that starts like this. We start with hair and makeup, just depending on how many bridesmaids you have. And I also think that, sometimes people will be like, well, I don't want to start hair and makeup at 7 a.m. I'm like, well, you've got 13 people and your wedding starts at 4. We have to start early. So doing all of that. And so we'll start, whenever. It really kind of depends on how many people have hair and makeup. So we'll go ahead and start that. I always like the hair and makeup to end about 2 hours prior to ceremony start time. That way we can get father-daughter first look, or parent first look, and then also if they're going to do a first look with their partner, which I love doing a first look with their partner, because then we can get a lot of the photos done prior to the wedding. Because I have some clients that they, like this past wedding, they wanted to really enjoy cocktail hour. So we did first look. We did a majority of the photos prior to the actual ceremony. And then they were available to do cocktail hour. So we do first look, then we do family photos, wedding party photos, and then like the couple photos. Then we go into the actual ceremony between 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on if it's, just depending on the couple, on what they want to include in their ceremony. And then after that, then we have cocktail hour for about 45 minutes to an hour, just depending on the venue, the time, all of that. But I would say we block off about an hour for that to go ahead and take either more photos if they need to go ahead and do everything, if they didn't do a first look and they have to get all that stuff done, or for them to kind of have like a private moment by themselves before they actually kind of go, because that day goes so fast.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like, the ladies are starting at like 8 a.m. and then you're not leaving till midnight. That's a long day. So, and especially, it is a wonderful big party, but we want to make sure that they have a special moment that they're like by themselves, like, oh my gosh, we just got married. Like, this is crazy. So we do that cocktail hour. Then we go into, we open up the main venue for go ahead and for everybody to find their seats. And then I like to do a wedding party introduction, gets everybody hyped up. And then we go into the bride and groom, or the, bride and bride, groom and groom, like, their introduction. And then once we go into that, then I love to do a first dance before. I think it's such like everybody's hyped, everybody's standing, and then, all eyes are already on them.
Yeah.
So we go straight into first dance, and then there's either like a welcome or a prayer by either the father, grandfather, officiant, something like that. They'll do a welcome, and then we'll go straight into dinner. Then after dinner, I love to so I will say back in the day, I used to like chop things up of like, we'll do this here, and then 40 minutes will go by, and then we'll do this and this. I don't do that anymore. I now do everything up front, because we don't want, if the dance floor is hopped and packing and like packed, and, we don't want to go ahead and, disrupt that.
Yeah.
Cut that and be like, it's like, now we have to do this. And
mood kill.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to, exactly, a mood killer. I don't want that. So after dinner, we go ahead, we do cake cutting, and then we do toast, then father, daughter, mother, son dance, and then that will kick off the dancing. And then it's just golden until there. And then we'll do like a late night snack at least 30 minutes before the bar closes. Bar closes 30 minutes prior to end time, and then grand send off. And so I know it sounds like super compact, but at the same time, it's done, when it's done right, it flows very smoothly. And I always tell my clients too, is like, listen, everything, like what has to start on time? Your ceremony has to start on time. But after that, everything else is kind of fluid. I mean, I do talk with the caterers, because if they're serving steak, I don't want it sitting in, there and then it's tough and everything like that.
Yeah.
But up until after dinner, everything is fluid. And sometimes I'll come up and I'll be like, hey, do you still want to do that bridal, bouquet toss? And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. And we're seeing actually less and less in that. Less bridal bouquet, nope, like garter toss, very, very rare now. So we don't even stop to do that. And it is just a party until the end. Just dancing, drinking, having a great time.
I like that. It sounds such a smooth transition.
Yeah.
And I guess, and that's just in a perfect world, of course.
Yes, of course. Yes. That does not always happen.
I know. Like, for example, like with us, when it comes to the photo booth, we always recommend to start the photo booth right after dinner.
Yes.
Because, we would hate for people to just, for our couples to waste that 1 hour as they're having dinner.
Right.
But, we always notice that, like, they always tell us that, well, dinner's running behind, or this is running behind, and everything. I guess it's just a domino effect. Like if the ceremony's behind, then of course everything else is going to be behind. Have or I guess let me ask you, what is one thing that normally runs late?
I will say it honestly depends on how long dinner takes, because you never know how long people are going to take to eat. And I will say I am a fan of no preset salad. I do not like salads to be preset. So that will often always take a little bit longer. So dinner can often run late, because the caterers, they do not like it when I say that. When I'm like, they're always like, preset salad. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Don't ruin my design.
Presentation is key.
Exactly. Yes. So also on that note, another hot take, let's stop serving tea on the tables, because it's just a brown liquid on the table, and it's gonna look, in your pictures. That's all I see sometimes.
I
So,
love that you. I like the way you think. I mean, it's all about. I mean, everything is about looks. I went to a restaurant the other day. I think where I was in Vegas, I believe, and I ordered. I think I was with someone, and we ordered a burger, but it was right before a show, so we didn't want to have a heavy dinner.
Right.
We wanted to eat something, but not too
Right.
crazy. So we told the server, he's like, we were like, hey, can you cut the burger in half? And he's like, the chef is not gonna like that. It's gonna ruin the presentation. And I was like, look at you.
Yeah.
I was like, well, just can you bring me a knife? I'll cut it myself. I'm like, you can bring it to me, and then I'll just cut it.
cut it. Yeah.
They made me cut it myself because they wouldn't do it because of the
The
presentation.
presentation. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I mean, when you have people walking in, you have we have picked everything out from the linens, the font on the menus, everything.
Yeah.
And then
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then you've got these gorgeous glasses, and then I've got tea in them. And I'm like, ugh.
That is
Yeah.
so funny. I never even thought about it that
know.
way.
So anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, I love it. I love it. 'Cause these are things, that our listeners should know.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what I didn't know that you would see it that way. So this is perfect. I told you guys, she's going to give us great information.
All these little hot takes that people. I'm just gonna make every vendor mad at me. They're like, what?
No,
So-
I like it. It's a tips, I guess. We like to create drama here.
Yeah, I love it. I am all about the drama.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so depending on if there's preset salads, if there's, again, how long it takes for the food to get served. So, all of that, picking up, clearing everything to get into the next thing of again, I don't want, so for cake cutting is fine while people are sitting down, but when they're doing father, daughter, mother, son, and toast as well, all of that, I want them to be paying attention. I don't want people serving while that's going to be happening. So I think I forgot to add that in, is that we do cake cutting, toast, and then father, daughter, mother, son dance. So, again, everything's done up at the front.
I like it. I guess now that because you guys always, as planners, you always send us vendors,
Right.
the timeline. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I never look at it.
Yes. Well, we know.
Well, the thing is, for me, I think it's a little different than the
it's
other
true.
vendors because
Right.
from before, way before, we've already discussed what time to what time is the photo booth is going to be open.
Exactly.
Which is just an easy, I don't know,
that's
7 to
super
10, 8 to
Yes.
11, whatever time we come up with. So to me, the rest of the timeline doesn't affect my photo booth time. And
Right.
I'm not going to affect anything else on the timeline. So I think that's the reason why not that I don't look at it because I don't want to look at it,
Right.
but because I already know that the photo booth time is already set
Yes.
and nothing else is really going to affect our time.
Yes, that is true. And I will say, yes, and you're exactly right. Yeah, photo booth 7 to 10. We know there's nothing's going to change on that. I have gotten to where I actually print out the timeline and I will put it up in the kitchen with some painter's tape because I can't tell you the catering or somebody will come and be like, what time is this? And I'm like,
Oh no.
have you checked the timeline? It's up in the kitchen. It's right there. So anyways,
You tell them.
Yeah, but and the thing is, I know we're all doing so many events, and sometimes even if they'll ask me hey, what's coming next, and I'll be like, that is an excellent question. Let me look at my timeline.
Per my last email.
Exactly. Per my last email that I sent to myself, because I also sometimes I'm like, oh yes, I forgot that's coming up or something. But what I have done, and actually what Dawn from Tech Savvy taught me, is that to put it in my watch, and so when things are coming up, my watch will give a little alert that says hey, cake cutting in 5 minutes, so that way I'm always on time as well.
I like that.
Yeah,
So for wedding planners out there that are listening, take that tip from Melissa.
Yes. Well, I can't even claim it. It was Dawn from Tech Savvy. She's the one who told me.
I like it.
And ever since then, I'm like, yes, that is what I'll do now. So
that's very smart. I like that. That's really, really cool. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So have you ever had to deal with anything? I would say, again, this is the tips, I guess. So we like drama. Have you ever had anything, that's going on behind the scenes that obviously the guests don't know, but that you're like, oh my God, this is ruining the timeline. This is crazy. We need to either get them out
or do something.
Get with the program. Any story?
I don't know so much as that. I do have a story that cake cutting got moved significantly back because we had to take the cake and move it. So, one of the guests decided that they wanted to cut the cake themselves.
Oh
they
my gosh.
they were not going to wait for the bride and groom. They're like, we're just going to cut it. And so he cut it. Thankfully, the photographer saw him do it because I was eating in the next room really quickly. Like, I mean, we as vendors were like eating in the closet, like real quick. And so I ended up running out there. I grabbed him. We had to take the cake back to do some literally like
Fix
some
it.
like surgery, put it back
my
in there,
goodness.
see what we could do to, hide it with flowers and do all that. So that pushed us back maybe 30 minutes. Nothing that's been like 2 hours or anything
Yeah.
like that. But I think that was kind of my biggest.
Was this person drunk?
No, he was not. He was just an uncle and he wanted his dessert right after dinner and he was going to cut that cake. He won. And it was a dessert bar and it was a very small cake. It wasn't like a big one. So it was very noticeable that it was
my
cut.
gosh.
And we even had a little thing on like a little sign that says like, please like dessert bar, not until after the cake is cut. Well, he was like, well, I'm going to cut the cake and then we can open up the dessert bar.
I cannot. I
Isn't that
mean,
crazy?
Okay, so in a situation like this, do you tell the couple or they never even found out until later?
I opted not to tell them until after the wedding.
Okay.
So after the wedding, then we let her know, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "But you didn't know, so it would end up being fine."
My
But,
goodness.
yeah,
This-
we grabbed some flowers, and we just, I mean, like I said, we did surgery.
I mean, that uncle is not going to be invited for Thanksgiving or any
No.
other,
Yeah.
family gathering.
Yeah. Hide all the knives. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so you walked me through the timeline of the wedding day. What about for rehearsal? I mean, is there even such a thing as a timeline
So-
for a rehearsal dinner?
Yeah. So what? Most of the people say that they want to do the rehearsal the night of. I am a huge fan of doing rehearsals the day of the wedding, but I know that I am not. That's a very skewed among planners. But yeah, so we will do the rehearsal normally. I like to do it about the same time that the actual wedding is going to be started. Sometimes we'll have access to the location, sometimes we won't, just based on if the venue has a wedding the previous night. So sometimes we'll have to do it at a different location, but I like to do it at the same time. Mainly so we can see where is the sun setting, where is, hey, if you're going to need, like, I just let them know this is what it's going to be tomorrow. You're going to be in full sun, the groomsmen or the bridesmaid, whichever. Just make sure that you've drank lots of water, you're moving. I try to give them those little tips prior to. And then, so we do that. And then depending on if they're going to be having a rehearsal dinner, which most of them do, some of them don't, but most of them do, it's normally 30 minutes after because they have to have time to drive. I always tell them. So we have a lot of people that do a rehearsal dinner and then a welcome party. Most of my guests, I would say most of our clients, probably 80 to 85%, almost 90% are not local. I have so many clients right now that are from New York. It's insane.
Wow.
And so a lot of people, like the wedding I just had this past weekend, they're from New York. We have people coming from London, Canada, everywhere. And so they will go ahead and do a rehearsal dinner for the people that are actually a part of the ceremony. And then they will go ahead and do a welcome party. They will invite all the other people who have traveled, which I think is a very lovely touch.
Yeah.
To have that. But I always suggest do not go too late. Do not go past 10 because remember, you're having to get up very early. You have, consider it like a Vogue cover shoot. You are going to be on.
Definitely.
So you don't want to be very tired. You don't want, and then I've had some clients that have, had a little bit too much fun at the rehearsal dinner and then we have to call in the people with the IV bags to go ahead and get everybody a little bit more up to snuff.
That's a wild story that I always hear.
Yes. Oh yeah. It happens all the time.
Even like during the wedding day, as they're getting ready, they're normally drinking.
Yes. Oh yeah. All the time. Yeah. They're drinking. Sometimes if I feel that they've gotten a little bit too out of hand, I will send in the officiant, like the pastor or the priest to go and have like a little talk with and be like, how are you doing? Sobers them up real quick. And they're like, oh gosh, like they're in there. Because I don't ever want to put a damper on their day. But also if you start drinking at 8 a.m. and your ceremony is at 4, that's a long time. So,
it is a lot.
But I mean, I don't see that quite as often. It really is mostly like they'll have a really good time, the rehearsal dinner, welcome party, and then we'll have to get them a little bit, let's get some, lunch greasy food in there, have some breakfast tacos before we start. So, yeah.
Okay.
So something like that. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, we normally, I think in my entire career, as a photo booth vendor, I think I've only done maybe like 3 rehearsal dinners. Like they hire us for the rehearsal dinner, and then of course they hire us for the wedding. One time we did a rehearsal dinner, which I think the wedding was Halloween night, and rehearsal dinner, was the night before, of course. And they made it into a costume party. So it was it was so fun.
That is so fun.
It was the photos are hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to see that.
It was really cool. It was really fun. I thought it was so unique.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it's Halloween. We're not really going to go out and celebrate because we're getting married, but we get to celebrate the night before. We are throwing a Halloween party, and it's our rehearsal dinner.
We did one Halloween wedding in Dallas, and it was a very, very posh wedding, but then around like the 9:30 mark, then they brought out a bunch of like costumes for everybody to change into and
that
stuff.
Is so cool.
It was so fun. People had like different masks and feather, but like it was a good time. It was a really good time.
Sounds like a party.
So, I'm just saying, like if you're gonna get married on a holiday, lean into it.
Yeah,
you've got to lean into it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was just talking. To I can't remember who about holiday weddings. Some people bring Santas for to incorporate them to like the dance floor or like for shots or for the photo booth and things like that. It's so cool. Like
fun.
it's just give your guest a fun time.
Exactly. Yes, that's what it's all about. You are celebrating. Obviously we've come to celebrate the couple, but it's also a great time because when do you have all of your family and friends in one room? So much fun. And I think, the more that you can make it memorable and things like that, it's all about the guest experience.
I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. All right, Melissa. Well, we are running out of time. Yes. Thank you so much for all of this information. I always wondered, when we go set up the photo booths that we go earlier in the day, I always wonder, or actually, the times that I have read the timeline.
Yeah.
Well, I've always noticed, like hair and makeup, 7 a.m. I'm like, why so early? Yeah. But I guess now you gave me that answer. It makes sense. Depends because there are so many of them.
There's so many of them. And also, ladies, if you are booking your hair and makeup, that's one of the first people that you should book because I can't tell you how many times that I have clients that will be like, I forgot to book them. And everybody else, all the good people are booked, especially if you're getting married in the fall or the spring. So don't sleep on them.
Get that? That sounds like a very important part.
I know. Exactly. It's like I feel like I'm giving like all these little hot takes.
I love it. Yeah. This episode has been so much information that even I'm like, wow, I never knew that. And I never knew that. So thank you so much.
Yes,
I am sure we are going to have you back because you're also the owner of Bartenders for You.
Just this year.
And alcohol is definitely one of my favorite topics.
Yes. Where does everybody go? They go to the bar.
Yeah. So we will definitely have you again so that we can talk all things liquor, party, bartending, all of that cool stuff.
I love it. Well, it's the tipsy guest. So
it is a tipsy. We have our little wine here. So let's do a little toast here.
We won't tell everybody that it's 10 in the morning.
I know, right? Time of recording, it is 10 a.m. and we're drinking.
I know.
Who cares?
I know. It's fine. And it's a Monday. Oh my goodness.
It is. Okay, so let me really quick.
Yeah, little sip.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So thank you to our listeners. Thank you for being here today. I am going to link your Instagram and your website on the show notes and the episode blog so that people can go find you.
Awesome.
And then we'll definitely have you back.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you come back next week. Like you already know, we have vendors every week. We have brides. I have my BFFs. We're always chatting all things weddings. So stick around. We'll see you next time. Cheers. Thanks for listening to the Tipsy Guest podcast. If you know someone who could benefit from these tips, spread the love and share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Next round's on us. Same time, same place. Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by MVP Photo Booth, the #1 photo booth rental company in San Antonio, Austin, and Central Texas.